Hey, what is up, Headhunters, executive recruiters, staffing professionals, and all you beautiful people on the Facebook, the YouTubes, and the LinkedIns? Because yes, we are live on LinkedIn for the first time ever.
Oh, wait,
This
we're
is
live,
the
brother? You didn't even tell me this.
we are live on we are live on LinkedIn, sir. You did not get the memo, I see. Probably because I purged you from my email list. This is David Stephen Patterson. You may know me as DSP. My beautiful co-host Neil Lebovits, and this is Headhunters in Boxers Talking Smack. And our special guest today, you'll see here in about 10-15 minutes, is Suki Sodhi. She is a recruiter who recruits recruiters for recruiting companies. In essence, she's rec to rec, and she's also a recruitment trainer and exec coach as well. But with that being said, though, Neil was showing me something pretty interesting back behind the scenes. Some sexy legs, it looks like. What's going on with that, Neil?
Oh, dude, I lose clients when I go down this direction. I'm just saying I work from home, and the more and more that Zoom becomes comfortable, like in the beginning, people were still wearing, right? In the beginning, they were wearing collared shirts, at least, or some people wear their tie and their shirt, and the dry cleaning industry got clobbered because they were just doing shirts, and that even stopped. Then they went to collared shirts. Every one of my clients on my Zoom calls wears t-shirts, hats, ponytails, hoodies, and that's more and more the norm. We started with Headhunters and Boxers Talking Smack. In the beginning, we wore boxers. I bought a whole selection from Amazon of boxers for the show. And we would show them in the beginning. And so I just happened to be telling Suki in the green room, but in the pre-show that, I forgot what we were talking about. One of the things we'll get into is Suki about how she was a guest. People might remember she was actually booked like 3 months ago, and we canceled on her 3 times, which we've never done that to any host once, let alone 3 times. And we'll get back to that story if you remember, David, about how that happened. But long story short,
Yeah, very long story, Neil.
dude, this is our banter section. This leads into the whole show. But long story short, I just said I'm happy to be doing the show in the buff. Don't worry, I'm not going to show you anything. I'm going to do it very but I'm like, it's pixelated there. But I'm
not sure what you're doing, Neil.
I've just got my t-shirt going. All right, it's just my leg. But I just got my t-shirt going. You know what? I'm working from home, and I find it hysterical, right? When clients have no idea, and even if you wear a nice shirt, they have no idea what's going on beneath this screen. I had a client that told me that they actually had a background, and they leveled with me like, yeah, did you even hear that I just went to the bathroom? I'm like, please tell me it was number one. Like, so I think that's hysterical. So anyway, I'm not going to show anything. I don't want to lose any clients because I'm sure some people do Zoom calls in their own. Do you do Zoom calls in your underwear every day?
For show on LinkedIn. I mean, you've got a lot of clients here on LinkedIn. I can tell we're already losing subscribers. We're losing clients. I think we're losing money minute by minute here. Man, maybe we shouldn't get a live on LinkedIn after all.
You have to Zoom in your underwear. Like, and I'm not trying to be provocative. I'm like, I know so many people do. Do you admit to doing it, or do you do it?
Actually, I don't. I wear regular shorts or like board shorts. Sometimes I wear pants. I like to feel like I'm pretty well made. You know what I mean? So I don't do the boxers thing really. I feel kind of gross.
You know what? You're right. What you wear does actually affect things. I remember when my company when I was president of Agilon, we went to all professional dress to business casual, as opposed to professional dress. And there were many people that were against it. There was executives on the board that can't do this. But we forced it on Friday. You can wear anything, jeans, we had certain rules. But there is something that, like, when you went out to a client, we still insisted that you had to be professional. There's something about feeling in that great suit or dressed up, like you're saying, right? It does impact. I'm used to it. So it doesn't, like, I totally put on, like, it doesn't at all. But I think for the average, you're right, right? So for you, it makes you feel your game.
Well, yeah. So for me, I mean, I don't dress up like in collar shirt and ties anymore. I've moved past that. I don't like that anymore. But I do like to feel nice. But I do agree. After a while, if you're used to this and you're used to working from home alone, you really don't need that dressing up to work as a crutch for you. But I do know for the vast majority of people, it is a big thing, especially if you're not used to working remote. I think if you start, at the very least, dress nice or dress clean. If you're dressing in pajamas, you got bedhead and your breast stinks. that's going to come around and work. It's just like in the morning, when you wake up in the morning, make your bed, right? Do not go to work until your bed is made. You know, there's little habits like that help produce excellence, help produce your best work. You know what I mean? And I think with more and more that we're doing a remote, you need to develop strategies to make sure you're staying productive and doing a good job.
What should recruiters tell their interviewees? And most of them are remote interviews now. They're on Zoom or Google Meet or whatever. There's still not a second chance to make a first impression, right? That cliche stands true just like it ever has. There are some people in the groups, and there's been these messages going on. Should they wear a tie and a shirt to give that first impression, even though it's not needed? Does that give them a leg up? Because again, it's just like, we tell people in the old days, you don't go on it. I don't care. I used to tell people, I don't care that the company's business casual. When you go in there, you're gonna wear a really nice outfit, because they're gonna tell you, don't worry, you can wear jeans. It's Jean Friday. Do not show up in jeans. You look different. What do you think about that? And advice to recruiters?
You know what? Actually, I used to think the same thing, and I said the same thing for a long time. But candidly, the way I do it now, at least the way the way you do it now is you want to ask the client what their dress code is, maybe just a level above that. But at the same time, well, because what I have noticed is that some companies that are a bit more casual in nature, you'll have somebody that comes in and dressed in a suit, and it's a bit of a mismatch with their culture. So try to at least dress, close to how they dress. Obviously don't be super casual, be business casual or something like that. But for me, generally, I've asked what the dress code typically is. Dress a level above that. Collared shirt,
well,
maybe a tie.
What about presume? You don't know what the interviewer is going to be wearing, right? And so, do they show up in a hoodie? Should they instruct people? I mean, I hear tons of stories of this. Should they instruct them? What should people be doing? What should the candidates be? Same deal as like now that it's on Zoom and it's not live, like part of the prep. And I know a lot of people don't do this. Like I would insist on seeing the PDF talking points that they're going to use, that they're going to have open on their screen next to their Zoom, because they don't have to memorize this stuff. Like, here are the 5 main pain points for the client. Here are the 3 things they're looking for. Why on earth are they going into a Zoom like it was a regular interview, when you could cheat? And so many people aren't cheating, nor the recruiters insisting that they cheat. You know what I mean?
Not necessarily. You're just playing to win.
Oh, it's not cheating, but it would look really stupid if you're in a live interview and they're asking you your greatest strengths and you're like, hey, hang on a second. Oh, right. You want me to talk about my teamwork. Oh, like you could do that. Like they're nervous as it is on the interview. A lot of people like the recruiters must insist or prepare it for them. This is your Zoom sheet, your Zoom cheat sheet. Everyone should be using that and giving it to the people and making sure they have it. And it should be pulled up, and they need to know, pull it up. They can't see it. Put it up right next to you, split your screen, drag it over to the side, talk to them and just look at it. You've got all the things you want to bring up, your stories, we say add when you enter all the prep stuff that we talk about, right? Make sure you give them a feature benefit. Give them a story about how you made, saved, or achieved, or made, saved, earned, or whatever. Like what those are, you don't have to wing them. They're pre-prepared.
And role play it out. So with being on Zoom, I mean, if you're a recruiter, I really think you should probably, especially those candidates who aren't used to interviewing via Zoom or haven't interviewed in a while, role play with them. Hop on a Zoom call, run through like a 30-minute role play interview. Ask them the questions that you know will likely be asked in the interview. Because I think a lot of times, for example, what I found as a trainer and a manager was that if I gave somebody a cold calling script, right, and we did a script role playing in the conference room, right, face to face, they may get better in that environment. But then you put them on the phone calling a prospect, they're not in that same environment, so it doesn't really translate over very well. So I think that if your candidate's gonna be interviewing via Zoom, then have them hop on Zoom and role play with you in that environment. Just I think get used to being in that environment, knowing where to look. Because, for example, looking at the camera lens, that means I'm looking at the person I'm talking to, not if I'm off here looking at the notes and I'm always looking away, and it breaks rapport. So little things like that.
And drag that PDF Zoom cheat sheet right in the middle of yours. Put it right smack beneath your camera. You're like, again, you can't. I mean, of course, you watch Fox, CNN, any of the stations, they're all using a teleprompter. Even when they're riffing on the site, it's a teleprompter. And when you look directly in it, you can't tell that I'm reading right now, left to right. Right. I mean, I'm not prepared for the show, but I'm looking at all the things on my Google, favorites. Like, you can't tell. So it's stuff people should do anyway, for sure. I think. I wonder what our guest thinks about that, David. What do you think?
I wonder what our guest thinks about that. Who was the guest again? Who was that? I think we have Suki Sodhi. In fact, here we go. We're going to bring Suki on right now out of the green room. Are you ready, Neil?
I is ready. I was born ready.
Oh,
there she is.
Hey guys, how you doing?
I'm great.
We love that accent.
I've heard. Hold on. I heard from a little bird that you're one of them recruiters who recruits recruiters for recruiting companies, and then will also train those recruiters for those recruiting companies.
Guilty as charged.
Okay, I was making sure I heard, because it's like recruiting inception, recruiting recruiters.
It totally is. You know what it's like, David? What she does is, like, if we showed, like, if you're ever doing a Zoom video with someone and you share your whole desktop, and the video of them is on the desktop that you're sharing, you end up seeing the computer screen, and then inside that you see the same computer screen of the people, and then in that, and it just goes on for, in theory, infinity, right? Because it's all O's and ones, zeros and ones. That's what it's like to me. The inception is perfect.
Well, look at it like this, guys.
Blowing my mind.
Agencies are experts in recruiting whatever vertical they're recruiting in. I don't know, accounting and finance and what have you, right? They're their own lousiest recruiters, just like clients are. They need to go external, and that's what we do. It's fun. It's fun. But I was listening to you guys talking about the dress code for Zoom and things like that. Interesting topic.
Well, let me go back to recruiters not being able to recruit for their own companies.
Okay.
So here's where I look at it. Bottom line, for most recruiting companies, or most search firm owners, especially the smaller ones, are trying to build up. To be honest with you, I think it's just crappy job orders, right? I mean, it doesn't matter how great of a recruiter you are. Let's reverse that. Being a great recruiter isn't just recruiting well, it's helping your client create a better job order and letting them know, hey, this is kind of crappy. You're not going to get what you're looking for. And I think a lot of search firm owners forget that lesson because they think, well, why would they want to work for me? Well, you're some dude in the executive suite with no value prop, or the value prop that you have is blurry, right? I mean, I think that's the issue, is that we don't think about. Good recruiters have options. They have a lot of options.
Oh my God, yes.
Totally. Yep. I mean, I have a partner of mine that's a great client of mine, and I love this guy. Monroe and David, if you're listening, it's for you. When they tell me they need help, I don't charge a fee. I sell them the people on talking to these guys, because what a great group of people to work for. Here's what they do here, and that's, you need a recruiter for that, because they have a gazillion options. Like, and people are like, oh no, I'm good. I mean, you put a post again. If you're a full cycle recruiter, you market, you can recruit, you can source, right? I mean, that's gold. And every company has different needs too, right? So, I mean, I'm not right, totally.
But also look at it from this perspective. You're your client's brand ambassadors. Who's your brand ambassador, right? And not only that, let's face it, guys, we all think we have an amazing brand, we're the best people to work for and stuff like that. And reality sometimes is different. You need, just like your clients are, you need a third party to be able to go out there and help change that perspective, feed it back to you. It's a vertical I've been doing since 2005. It's probably the most challenging vertical I've done.
Well, you know what? So, when I was president of Agilon, we had at one point, which is so friggin' ridiculous, it's so ironic. We had the president, before I was president, I should say, we had the president of the company, I was an area VP, have a moratorium on no agencies. We're having Crosscutting, we're not, I'm like, we're a friggin', like, how,
hypocritical.
The whole world did that. Like, and so I ignored it. And why did I ignore it? Because I knew he would only ultimately approve a hire through an agency if he interviewed that branch manager or whatever, and he wanted to. It's the same pitch we have. Like, why wouldn't I? Yeah. Everyone out there, right? Even these that are small independents out there that we constantly see posts, hey, looking for a recruiter, looking to add someone to our team. I don't allow those posts in my group. David does. Other groups do. but use a Suki or whomever it is, because you're not committing to not using other alternatives. Of course, you're going to try to use a Facebook group, but why on earth would you not just look? Even if I have to pay a 25% fee on 50,000, like, let me look at it. I might get someone that's want to take a $12,000 base or draw less. Like, why don't I at least? I don't get how we don't. If you don't get that as a recruiter, how are you selling the same thing to your clients when they say, "I want to"? We're going to go internally first. Absolutely, but not just like. So I don't get how everyone doesn't call you and say, "I want to see benchmark." When he's, I want to see your people.
But also remember, what message are you sending to your clients and the rest of your team, right? Because you're saying we don't believe in paying agency fees, yet you're trying to get your clients to pay your agency fees.
Totally
doesn't make sense, right? It's hypocritical.
It also really shines a light on the fact that you have to, even if you do go with an agency to recruit for your for your firm, I think it shows the fact that you really have to. It starts at home. It starts with yourself. It starts with your firm. I think so. For example, why would someone work for you as opposed to working off the kitchen table, billing the same amount, making twice as much? What's the value prop, right? You have to have a value prop. You have to have a counter for that. Why actually work with you instead of Hydrick & or Russell Reynolds or any other big firm that you compete against? What's the value prop there? And I think a lot of it comes down to like building, and of course I'm a little biased because I help build sales and marketing machines for clients, building something like that where you can plug somebody in and say, here, you're going to bill 2, 3, 4 times as much and make way more and not have to stress about being a business owner or working for a firm where you're, a no name or a cog in a machine. There's that, but there's also, I think, one thing a firm owner should do is look at their market like they would a search, right? So if you recruit in accountants in Cleveland, well, it would behoove you to map the entire market, get all the accounts in Cleveland, put them in your database, start reaching out to them organically through content, through whatever, just kind of build a brand name for yourself. So when you have a need, they'll take your call. Same thing in your recruiting market. If I'm here in Tampa, I want to hire recruiters, and okay, I want to develop this little brand for myself here in Tampa. And then that way, when I have a need, I've got my pick of the litter. I'm not out there trying to scrounge around some, has-been recruiter that's gone from shop to shop to shop every year. And so I think firms should really work on that first, and then they go to somebody like you. Then they've got a good job order, right? They've got something you can sink your teeth into, as opposed to that, oh, this is crappy, right? That's the way I look at it.
But also, I totally agree with you, but if you are looking for 2 people in this area, 2 people over there, 1 here, why the amount of time it takes you to map out that market, attract the candidate, all the rest of it, the passive, you could have made 5, 10 placements in your core business, which far outweighs the cost of hiring. Exactly. Same with your clients, right? And I think I also think it's really interesting because those ones that give those objections, right? Like your story earlier there, Neil. To me, that says they don't necessarily 100% believe in the service they're offering their clients.
Totally. They don't get it. They believe it, maybe, but they don't get it, or they're certainly not selling it to their clients. If you're saying this over and over again to your clients, your fee's too high. No, it's not. There's no fee. Yeah, I'm at 30%. Yeah, they're at 15, or they're one of those groups that say 10% email blasting. That's looking at you. That's fine, but how are they not constantly saying that? See the people, business decision close, right? Gather the information, analyze the information, and then make the decision. We are an industry that allows people to gather information and analyze it, and then make the decision after the fact. The example I've used on several shows or on other shows or training is it's like being able to hire 3 different litigation attorneys and allow them to present their case to the judge, and you select the one where you get the best end outcome for your injury. Someone's at 30%, you get $1 million. I'm going to take that every time over someone that got me $20,000 at 5%. Every time. And they get to make the decision. You, Suki, can't present the same type of person that they will get from a Facebook group, or they will get on Indeed, or they will get on LinkedIn, because they'll hire them every single time. And you know that, and you're cool with it. You're cool to say, I'm doing all the work for nothing. This is their sell to their clients. Anyway, I'm doing all the work for nothing. And if it's not better, you're never going to pay me a penny. So don't work. The fee is not the issue. I have to do what I say I do, right?
But it's also as a business, right? It makes common, it's just, to me, it's logical business sense. I recruit staffing professionals around the world. I have offshored my sourcing. I've gone to a third party company out of Philippines. So why? Because it made better sense for me to take that part of the process off my guy's desk, so they're free to work on what makes money, and I've offshored that to the experts. Offshoring your internal recruitment as an agency is exactly the same. Give it to, if there's somebody that can do it better or equally, give it, because it's going to be cost effective.
Process. Do they say process or process in the Philippines?
No, the sourcing. So the sourcing, the list building.
Oh, no, I just meant your pronunciation. You said process.
Yeah,
and we say process. We say process.
Okay.
How do you pronounce SCHEDULE?
What?
Schedule.
SCHEDULE. Your calendar. I need to
schedule.
How do you say it?
Schedule.
Oh, you don't say schedule?
Yeah, I've heard the other way with the schedule. I've heard that.
Well, I got told this week, I was speaking to a friend from back home, and he said to me, "Oh, your accent's going. Your accent's changing. So maybe I'm picking up a little bit more of the Canadian in some of my pronunciation then."
Now, David, is it me or does she have a little bit of a mini driver thing going on?
A mini
driver thing? Oh yeah, I can see that.
I see a little mini driver thing. I mean, it's the accent that does it. I mean, Suki, if we're going to call a spade, I didn't find you overly attractive when I first met you. Your accent, you're like a pinup girl now to me. Like it's the accent. Like, what a great gift. Like, guys, I see ugly guy. I remember when I was single. Well, I'm not married, but like when in my young days, that would like they have this English accent. In fact, when I was young, I was Nigel, and I would talk to people in the bar, and I would have my accent, and I would get so much more action. Just like an ugly guys with an English accent, like people love that. Do you find that people are more attracted to the accent, and even in recruiting, people love it, or is it just me?
How about this? So let me ask you this. So same question, but what do you find most attractive? A guy with American accent, English accent, Canadian accent.
Well, my husband's over here somewhere, so I've got to be careful here.
My girlfriend's sleeping right next to me. She's had her vaccine yesterday. She's ill.
I see Australian personally is something what most women would pick. So Australian, English, Canadian, American.
English.
Still, right?
Not Australian. Most girls say Australian.
Actually, I like but English, Aussie, South African kind of blends in. But I would still go English.
So if English is, and it's such a great thing. People love it. Why are the villains in movies always English?
Because just the way they sound and the authority they bring. Yeah.
So it's like I can do a great villain with an English accent. I'm not an actor. So if anytime I play like a villain in my head or I say something, it'll be like, yes, you're going to die. You know what I mean? Like it has to be. I know that was more like an Austin Powers, but yeah.
Kwame from our show yesterday just asked in the comments, what about a Scottish accent?
Oh God, is Tommy Scottish?
Tommy is Scottish, yes.
He is Scottish, yes. He is. He's a Scotsman. Proud Scotsman, ma'am.
Okay, let's call it a UK accent then. Let's go with the UK accents then.
I made him say, Captain, we have no dilithium crystals. Just because I wanted the Star Trek thing. Is that racist? That sounds like it's anyway. Back to content because we're losing our viewers. It's hysterical. Every time we go off topic, we see like viewers dropping, and they come back slowly, then they drop.
Well, okay. So I have a question for Suki. So going back to hiring, I think this is something that again most firm owners don't think about is how to make their job board more attractive. So if you're to talk to your average small owner, so maybe either independent or maybe they got a couple people and they want to grow, how would they make their opportunity value prop more attractive based on the clients you've worked with that have done this?
Okay,
because so many people out there need people.
Okay, so the place I always start is forget what you know. You need to educate yourself with what people out there are saying, right? Perception. So start with what is the real reputation your business has, because the number of times we talk to companies that say, "Oh, but Suki, you're going to have no problem because me as a leader, for example, I'm a great leader. People want to work for me, yada yada yada." And they base their hiring on that. They base their branding, their attraction on that. When the reality is completely different out there. Not only that, people say, "Oh, I've got this great network. I'm going to be able to bring people in." Yeah, candidates may like you, but they don't necessarily want to work with you. And the other part of it is why, just exactly the same with you. If you're going to start, if you're a small business, you're going to start looking to add to your team. Stop fishing in the small pond. Stop, because everybody tends to look at it and say, you know what, I've got this little pond. You talked about Indeed earlier. I'm just going to go in there. Stop that. Think big. As a small business, why can't you attract somebody from one of the big players? Right? Because what I find is the smaller businesses tend to think, okay, I'm a 10-person business, for example. I'll never be able to attract somebody from sponsorship, for argument's sake. That's so not true. It's how you attract, how you brand, and how you think about
Well,
yourself.
they're also going to believe you a lot more than they're not even going to say it, but you're going to say, listen, this guy, here's a success. Let's look at Will Spengler, who we had on 2 weeks ago. You could tell his story, which is a story. Look at this guy's track record. This guy worked for this baby, did this. Here's a thing that he came up with. Here's like this guy, you want to be trained and mentored by someone like this, right? Like that's a story. How's he going to get that out there? He's going to look like just like a post on Indeed, like every other single shingle.
Well, Dave in my team, and this is a true story, Dave in my team headhunted an individual out of a search business here, as a successful search business here in Toronto. That individual took a pay cut and went to our client in contingency. People think that people won't do that. This guy did, and I'm trying to get Dave to post the email he got from the candidate saying, I'm so glad I listened to you. You were right. This is a company I need to be at. That particular client was, when we talked about headhunting that type of individual, they were like, oh, no, somebody from that kind of company is not going to want to work for us. And I was saying, no, let's spread, let's get a bigger pool here, right? So smaller agencies, start thinking big. Stop
All right,
thinking
so Suki,
tunnel.
so we now have a reason. So people are going to want to call you, but you're also a global coach,
Yep.
right? And you offer, to plug your business, you offer a free, whether it's for hiring people or helping them create their brand. It could be anything in recruiting, right? Like, what do you globally coach on? And David, we have a way that people can reach you, right? To set up a free 45-minute consultation. Tell us a little bit about the types of things you coach people on and how they reach you.
Wow. So it really, really varies. A large number of those people that I've been working with at the moment are the individuals I just talked about, that smaller business wanting to scale. And it's like everything else. We've been through this, or we're still through it, the pandemic. People have lost money, all the rest of it. They've lost talent. So one of the biggest things I'm talking to business owners with at the moment is, how do we restart our business and ensure we're setting up for success? So we have a lot of conversation around what the strategy should be. There's a company we worked with, and that's how they started on this call. When they'd originally reached out to me, they were just going to hire more people. That was going to be their strategy. And when we ended up talking, their actual desire was to do international. We actually helped them launch an international practice, and that came off the back of a 45-minute breakthrough call. Some of the other things we hear a lot of smaller agencies we're talking about is, you know what, we're in perms, and we want to go contracting or temps, and they get fearful about the cash flow tie and stuff like that. You and I have had many conversations, Neil, where I just throw them your way. So it's all of those kind of things that they bring their problems. I don't care what the problem is, but don't come to me. Let me just say this. Don't come to me if you don't want to hear the truth. If you just want somebody to say, yeah, the industry is terrible, there's no talent out there, keep paying peanuts and things like that. I'm the wrong girl for that.
You pay peanuts and you get what, Suki?
I don't know whether I'm allowed to say that. I got told off last time I said that.
What do you get?
Oh, you can
You're right. You probably can't say it. You can't say it in today's political monkeys. Well,
Yeah.
it's not. Yeah.
Yeah. So
How do people set up a call with you, Suki?
it's really easy. Go to the website, www.professionalselection.com/apply. And there's a 45-minute session. Just click.
In fact, you can see the URL right down there. Now I will say this. Now I know you mentioned that really any issue you could talk about, but I'd say if you could pick out like some of the top issues that you think you're most qualified to talk about, what would those be?
Okay, so you've got an internal employee executive team, and you're having issues creating that high performance sales culture. Love that. My wheelhouse. You're looking to do launch, grow, change management. Love that. My wheelhouse. The other biggest issue we're having, and especially here in Canada at the moment, and it is everywhere else, salaries are going through the roof here. And the business can't sustain it. So I had a conversation with a client yesterday, and she's now 30 grand behind what her team can get elsewhere. And you can't throw money at the problem. So that's a big thing that's happening at the moment. So in that case, we looked at how else can they retain their staff without paying everybody another 30 grand. So salaries here in Canada are just going through the roof.
Okay.
It's a false bubble at the moment.
And my other question here, so if anybody has any issues around that area, specifically around hiring and making your firm more attractive, you can book a call here, and that is at professionalselection.com/apply. Now, I do have one more question before we get to the news. Neil, I see the thing, but I do want to ask one more thing, and this is really important. So Kwame mentioned the whole Scottish accent thing. So let me throw it back to you, Suki. Now, what if, and I know you're married, so I get that, but you got to admit, if this fella showed up, see him on your screen right there? If this fella showed up in your life, Mr. Seanconnery, right?
Well, nothing's on the screen. If you're showing, something's not showing.
Can you see it?
I see him. I see him.
I don't see anything.
Mr. Sean, yeah, it's the profile Seanconnery.
Now I
He's conveniently covering the boss logo. Conveniently.
Well, why are you not covering the digital headhunter? That's what your mother said, Trebek. Thank you. That's my Seanconnery. That's my Will Ferrell doing Seanconnery.
But I gotta ask. Seanconnery enters the equation. What happens now? Be honest.
Yep, doesn't do it for her.
Yeah, okay, that says it all. You don't know.
Now, if you're going to look at 007 and you bought Daniel Craig, that'll be different. Yeah. Easy.
Ah,
yeah.
Come to me. So much. That's the worst Seanconnery ever.
Speaking of Daniel Craig, so yeah, he's buff and all that and super cool guy. But I read an article that in his first Bond movie, he had to be taught how to drive a stick. He didn't know how to drive a stick. And when I read that, I'm like, oh, you just ruined it for me. You can't be Bond.
Do you remember the old Saturday Night Live sketch where they would mess up all that? Like he'd come on Seanconnery and be like, I like to take the rapists for 200, please. He's like, it's therapists. Then he'd come up, I'd like anal bum covers for 1,000. That's an album cover, Sean. Right? It's like every single one of them. Anal bum covers, right? That's
great.
Anal bum covers.
God.
All right, let's quickly.
Neil, I thought you were going to keep it clean today.
No, it's pretty clean. I mean, I do.
Here we go.
May 21st, 2021. Lots of great news in the world today. Very exciting stuff. And the latest, guys, pretty exciting stuff going on in the news. I think one of the great ones is CEO confidence. Get this, CEO confidence. And this just talks about what Suki was mentioning. Finding workers gets tougher. It's at the highest level CEO confidence since 1976. How's that? Remarkable turnaround, said the CEO conference board, right? That blows my mind. 94% of CEOs said business conditions are better than 6 months ago. 67% of that said it in the first quarter. CEOs are seeing boosts in jobs, 54% compared to expanding their workforce. That's up from 47, which is a massive percentage number just in a quarter, right? And they're finding more difficulty finding workers. 57% now say they find it really hard to find qualified people. It was 50, which was high in the first quarter. Wow, how cool is that for our business?
That is pretty cool, but I will say this. So yes, cool, right? And of course, it's hard to find people in general. But I will say this: to say that, hey, things are better now than 6 months ago. That I think we're kind of in a bit of a bubble of time where, of course, everything's better than 6 months ago. I think, because obviously we're bouncing back from basically
it's the highest in 76. Okay, this isn't. I'm not looking at the growth over last year. We're looking at the percentage of people that have confidence.
But when was the last time we were in, in a post lockdown situation? So of course they're going to be like,
because it's relative to their, so they're just feeling friggin' thrilled and relieved. That's great, absolutely. But isn't all of it mental? Isn't a recession? I mean, it's all mental. Like when a stock market tanks, like it did in the 91 recession, or you go back to 2008, which was based on some reasons. It's mental, and everyone pulls their money out and fear of what's wrong. I mean, right? That's where the expression, the greatest thing we have to fear is fear itself, right? It's kind of like that.
But let me just chime in. I was speaking to a CEO yesterday, and he was telling me, last year, Q1, we all had great Q1s, right? This year, their Q1 significantly beat their Q1 from last year. So even before the pandemic hit, so I kind of agree with yourself, Neil. The market is burning hot. Haven't seen it like this for a very, very long time. And yes, the other part of it is also a lot of companies last year, knee-jerk reactions were just to let people go, right? So I have this theory that everything wouldn't have been as bad as it was if people had just held on a little bit longer to see how the lay of the land would look.
But it's always like that in a recession. It becomes self-fulfilling. It becomes a downward spiral. You lay off people, there's less money, there's less confidence, they don't invest much, they don't buy as much, they don't have to lay off people. And so much of it is mental. Listen, this one also ties in. This is U.S. economy where we get most of this, but forecasters raise job estimates now. Federal Bank of Philadelphia released a forecast just last week that the U.S. is expecting to increase the job rate. They're expecting 750,000 jobs per month in the third quarter. I mean, there's just such great news, amazing. And again, just like you said, up massively still from where it was last year. They predicted GDP is going to grow at 7.9%. They were super bullish where it was before at 5%. So they see a stronger rebound in output. I mean, there's so many amazing indicators that are going on out there. This one, hey, not that I like to plug my business because we're back office staffing solutions. We do help people take advantage of the temporary market by being your employer of record. But the staffing indicator, and I always bring up staffing stuff because it's a great indicator for search as well. It improves again for last week. This is another bullhorn staffing indicator, right? Professional and commercial occupations going up. Hours worked by temporary workers, commercial and professional weeks are up now from May 8th. Again, this is compared to last year with the pandemic, but it's up 31%. Okay, 31%. So. And you have industrial and office up 24%. So everything's looking great. David, I was looking at my news items. And did you abuse me? Did I hear there's some abuse on a plug, or did you let me off the hook?
Plug? No. But you mentioned boss, and I just had to throw up the fake news just because I control the captions, so I can put it in what I want. It's pretty cool.
That's hurtful. That's hurtful because the show helps for business.
I heard those who I love. I love you, Neil.
I know you do, brother.
I'm strong enough to survive in my little hurtful comments.
All right. So, I mean, the only other news story I have, because I just cranked through a lot of them, and there's like 5 of them, is percentage of white collar workers. And this, they were not expecting this to happen. 72% of white collar workers are still working remotely. And this was by Gallup. So, and that's, nuts. Now, blue collar has changed dramatically. And obviously, you got to be there to lift the boxes in the warehouse and do stuff like that. But I mean, that's up only 14%, right? So they've been stable. They peaked in April of 2020. 35% of full-time employees say they will continue working from home as much as possible if they're given the choices. And this, in articles and stories, this continues to be a major issue that companies, you need to know this as recruiters, so that you share this with your clients. It's a major issue in attracting talent. Suki, what are you finding with that? And let's continue the show and end on this topic and whatever else we go to.
That's fantastic news for our industry, right? We can't deny that. So as recruiters, what do we do? 100%, you're right. Share it with your clients because everybody is hiring, right? So therefore, your offer's got to be attractive. But don't sit there waiting for your clients to call you. They're not going to call you. As recruiters, get out there, get proactive. Okay, so whatever way you're doing it, don't expect, because you see it in all the groups, right? How do I grow my business? How do I do this? How do I do that? And I look at it and I say, well, what have you done proactive? Don't sit there. No, your phone's not going to ring. You've got to do the activity to make that phone ring. So every single recruiter, get out there, find your audience, find who they are. People are working from home, and the excuse I'm hearing is, oh, well, the office receptionist, phone numbers are not been answered. Great. You have LinkedIn. You have so many different ways to connect with these people. Grab the opportunity before your competitors do, because if you don't fill those roles, someone else is.
How about the working from home? How about companies that don't operate?
Sorry.
Well, I'm going to add to that real quick. As far as competitors, so one of the things I've seen, so the search industry, and I'm speaking from search, not necessarily temporary staffing, but I know on direct hire search we had a big upswing in Q4, great Q1. However, I also do know that a lot of that growth has been with a lot of the larger firms. And a lot of smaller firms have been kind of hurt by that because these bigger firms, you think about it, they got millions put into marketing. I get retargeted by Korn Ferry. Well, I was on their website a month or two ago, and I'm retargeted. I see them everywhere in banner ads and this and that. They're out there and they're doing all those things that you should be doing if you're a small search firm owner. So I think, yes, you need to get out there. However, it's not just making cold calls. Oh, those still work. It's not just email. But you need to really look at your how are you getting out there in front of clients, because Korn Ferry and all those other big firms, Kforce and Robert Reynolds and Robert Half, excuse me, they've got millions and millions and millions to put into budget, and a lot of junior and mid-level recruiters that are pounding the phones. You got to think, how are you going to compete against that? And you can. But I think you got to think strategically to this next year, because it's going to be a lot different than it was a few years.
I put my anchor hat on. Great points by both of you. Really good. Not being sarcastic. Dead on. Has nothing to do with the news article I just read. Zero to do with it. So to come back to the remote thing, to both of you. Do we, when clients don't offer remote opportunities, do we coach them as recruiters, that look, you're going to be losing to people because 73% of white collar workers are still working remotely. You doing this is going to put you behind. Or certainly conversely, you should recognize, and we talked about this in a story last month, but people will give up a major item of their world, of their benefits, meaning in order to work remotely, if someone could get a full-time remote job, they'll give up a bonus, they'll give up healthcare benefits, or they'll give up salary. They'll give up a 401k. They'll give up something in order to be able to have that luxury, that beautiful life that they've now worked at mastering. So how does a recruiter capitalize on that when they're recruiting? I think people should spend a lot more time on it, given how all these statistics and everything that we share.
But I get it, right? I, for one, am not one of those people. I can't wait to get back into the office, right? So I think as recruiters, if we're talking to our clients, we've got to be encouraging them, if they're not going to do 100% work from home, educating them that they're going to lose a certain segment of the available talent, and then helping find hybrids, because hybrid doesn't have to, your client doesn't have to spend shitloads of money on an office. I'm saying to those clients, right, that want that office thing, book a Regis, do something, right? So allow your talent pool to have that blend. So it's not a huge cost for you. It's not a 6-year lease and things like that, but use something like a Regis or whatever service to office you've got. Clients got to be able to give that hybrid, right? You can't expect everyone to come back.
And also for your clients, I think when you talk to them, you should make them aware that, well, so a lot of people have these blind spots, right? They got blinders on. So, for example, recruiters are a great example, right? Recruiters always think that, they're the best, got the best scripts or whatever, but in reality, or your process is proprietary. When we really dive into our company, our client's culture, dude, 10 other recruiters say the exact same thing you do, probably a little bit better. Like, okay, how really different are you? I think with clients, where they think, well, yeah, we're going to have our folks come back into the office, and of course they would love to work here. Well, I think they don't realize that other companies out there offering remote opportunities, and that's a huge benefit. But there's some articles that came. I wrote something in Bloomberg that there's a great resignation coming. That a lot of economists foresee. You're gonna have a lot of people resigning over the next 6 months to a year. You think about the opportunity it's going to open up for us, but also think about the opportunity to educate your clients, because they may not be thinking about this as they're thinking tactically about how to get people back into the office, when they maybe they should be thinking strategically about how they can, again, boost their value prop, and know that they can put their own staff at risk, or their company at risk, if they have a mass resignation in their office, right? So, but yeah, I saw that in Bloomberg the other day, and it really resonated with me.
But here's the thing: ultimately, small business owners, they decide what they want to do, right? So I'm suggesting, if you have got a client that is insisting on an office location, right? It's their decision ultimately, right? They've just got to accept that their talent pool, they've just shrunk their talent pool, right? And you as a business, as a recruiter, have to decide, is this client still worth my time investing in? Right? And that's going to be based on location and things like that. Ultimately, if you walk away because it's not making money and it's not a high fee paying client, walk away, because ultimately that client will then realize, actually, this is the wrong decision for us, and they're going to, for lack of a better word, backpedal. Then you have a choice. Don't do work with a client that is so rigid and stuck with their hiring process or working in an office, when everybody else is having that flexibility. Don't do it. My advice is, as a recruiter, walk away. You
On
don't
both
need that
sides of
business.
the business, because maybe they have a great MO for their temporary staffing, which you can get into. You can learn everything you need to with my great ebook, Staffing by the Book. Staffing by the Book. David, I'd much prefer you put oh my God, come on. Staffing by the Book, www.backofficestaffingsolutions.com/staffing. It's an amazing book. We spent up to $10,000, up to, meaning we didn't spend quite 10. Up to can mean we spent $100, but we spent over 5, less than 10. This book's awesome. Download it, even if you want to dabble in temporary staffing. Staffing by the Book, great ebook.
Actually, it is. I've read it. It is a good one. In fact, if I had to keep a copy of it.
Did you like it? It was good stuff, right?
Actually, it was actually really good. And also, I guess since we're doing plugs, I will plug my own as well. So I have a 3-hour training that's about to come out in a couple days on how to scale your recruiting practice 2 to 5 times your record speed. Specifically, it's on sales marketing, but I get super detailed, super into the numbers, probably the most detailed training I've ever done. So be on the lookout for that in a couple days. I'm probably releasing that Monday. Also, if you want to just skip all that and just book talk me directly with either my accelerator or tactical program, you can go to thedigitalheadhunter.com/assessment. And if you want to book a call with Suki, you can do so at professionalselection.com/apply. All right. And I thought it'd be a free 45-minute breakthrough call where she will solve any recruiting issue you have. All right. And I think that is, gosh, we ending early. I just realized
You know
it's
what?
so
It never happened. It
just
seems like a
keep
good
going.
show end break.
Yeah, this is it is. It is. I guess we could probably wrap up here. Well, let me ask you. Anything you guys want to add?
Suki, closing thoughts.
Closing thoughts.
Yeah,
Every
closing thoughts.
agency person watching this, stop with the excuses. Stop thinking the cup's half full, half empty. Where am I going?
Yeah, stop being
Get out.
optimistic.
Yeah, stop thinking that,
Getting
right?
real pessimist. It's not rosy. It's half empty. Damn it.
Yes, half empty, damn it.
And she offers motivational. You're not a motivational speaker. You didn't mention that being in your wheelhouse.
But seriously, there is shitloads of business out there. Grab it, but walk away from unhealthy clients. Walk away, just own it. Walk away, because I promise you, you get rid of those crappy clients. We all have them. Every industry has them. You're going to make space for those clients that are going to value you. And my 2 cents worth is, you want to make money this year, work with those. And here's the thing, not everybody's cup of tea. I'm not everybody's cup of tea, right? And that's okay. Walk away. So that's my parting thoughts for everybody.
Well, I will add to that. And if you are, in a lot of ways, yeah, working with a bad client is like being in a bad relationship, right? And be willing to walk away. However, I will say this: a lot of recruiters are in a situation where it's kind of all they got, right? They have a legacy client or clients that give them business repeatedly. So, for example, I do outbound biz dev for my training and consulting company, right? So I eat my own cooking, right? And one of the things I get sometimes is that, well, my business is built on relationships and referral, and they have a certain pride when they say that, and I get that. But here's the interesting thing: what a risk, because when that relationship goes away, and they almost always do, right? Because people retire,
Yep.
they get fired, change policy, change, or when you don't get the referral, do you have the skill set to go out there and end up, or even worse, maybe what if your niche crashes, hospitality crashed? So if that goes away, do you have the skill set to be able to pivot into a brand new niche, build relations from scratch, from a dead stop? And if you can't do that, man, that is a big risk. And it's why, from a relationship standpoint, if you're in a bad marriage, right, maybe your high school sweetie, but you don't have any dating experience, overweight, you haven't worked on your social skills, whatever. Well, now you're kind of trapped, because if you get divorced, you're gonna have to go out in the dating scene. You're not prepared for it. So what do? You stay in a bad relationship. So I think the best way to make sure you have good client relationships is to have a steady stream of
Absolutely.
prospective clients coming in, booking calls, sales meetings
Totally.
all the time.
All
Because
the
then you've
time.
got options.
Yep.
Yes, because you've got options, and that's the key. And the more options you have, the better relationships you're going to have, right?
Value yourself. If you
Yeah.
don't value yourself, you can't expect others to value you, right? So I totally agree with you. You gotta, no matter how busy you are, don't forget the sales piece. That could be 2 things a day. That's all it may take. But you're right. Don't forget that piece.
Yep. And I'm going to end with my closing thoughts that I often bring up on the show. But as Dorothy put best in The Wizard of Oz, if you have to look any further than your own backyard for your heart's desire, then you were never really home to begin with. Thank you all. I'll see you next week.
What do you live in an apartment with no backyard?
I think it's a metaphor. That's just me. That's just
so
me.
the metaphor simile things.
Right. Damn those. Damn those. Make you think. Make you think.
All right, folks. With that said, thank you, everybody. Really appreciate you tuning in. And also, one last thing as well. We're about to release all these episodes on an upcoming podcast. We're close to uploading all of these shows here, probably about a week or two out still. We're getting close on it, so we'll be on Spotify and iTunes and all that kind of jazz here pretty soon. And with that said, thank you, Suki, for agreeing to be on the show. It was
Suki,
a
stay on
pleasure.
for the post show. Stay on for the post show.
Yes, and for post show. And with that said, see you all later. Peace out.